That's right. The crazy idiots are back. It's another episode of the Geek Boutique podcast, and we're in the middle of Con Crunch. I want to call this officially the start of con season. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
We're in Con Crunch now. Toronto Comic Con is coming. CK Expo is coming very, very soon. There's a lot of stuff going on. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Tonight is going to be a fun night. We've got a guest here with us tonight, Mr. Richard Baccari. How are you doing today?
I'm excellent. How are you guys?
Doing good. Thank you for joining us today. Obviously,
Thank you for having me.
The other idiot over here, Mr. At Messiah Complex Cosplay, Mr. Jeff. How you doing, good sir?
Yeah, it's I understand I'm not number one, and unfortunately I'm number two. No one wants to be number two, and yet here we are. So terrible, awful.
I'm not sure. Okay, sure.
You don't think you're right? I'm not even number two. I'm number.
I mean, that's a weird analogy to make.
I know it's terrible. It's
terrible. You know, it is terrible.
It is terrible. Yeah, I'm great. I'm good. I'm excited to talk to Richard. I'm excited to talk to some geek news and share and spill some beans.
Spill some beans, because that's what we like to do around here is spilling beans.
We do enjoy.
Guys, before we get started, a little bit of house cleaning or housekeeping, I should say, we need to do. If you're not already following us here on YouTube, make sure you click that follow. Come on, guys. What are you doing?
Subscribe. He means subscribe every time he says follow.
Subscribe. I say follow. I mean subscribe.
Yeah,
you're right. And click the notification bell. When you click the notification bell, what it'll do is it'll send you a notification to your phone every time we go live. So, give us a follow. It's very, very important. It helps us out tremendously. And like I said, it is 100% cost-free.
Couldn't ask
guys, sorry?
Couldn't ask for anything more.
Exactly. Hey, guys, there's a lot going on in geek news right now, specifically on the DC Warner Brothers side of things. So I want to get to talking a little bit about that. But before we do, can we talk about Comic-Con for a minute?
Yeah.
Of course.
Because I think we have to start the show by spilling some beans. I think we've announced a while ago already that we will be doing a Star Trek Day on Friday at Comic-Con. Oh, and Jeff?
Yes. Hey, very nice.
Wow.
I like it.
So, I mean, there's still nothing like the real thing, but
no, but
a little bit better than the cheap leather emblems. And
absolutely.
It's workable. So, by the way, Richard, we're doing a bit of a Strange New World thing. There's a bunch of us that ordered Strange New World uniforms, so that'll be a lot of fun. Cool. But you, my friend, what are you going to be doing on Friday at Comic-Con?
Oh, I have this little thing that I thought I would just kind of whip on. It's nothing special. Just a full body EVA foam suit of the Borg from Star Trek.
So it's futile, kids. In case you weren't sure.
Yeah, the collective will be strong that day.
Yes.
In case you weren't sure what the title of the podcast was about, well, here it is, folks. Richard's going to be joining us on Friday in his Borg outfit. Richard, I mean, I'm telling you right now, you're going to get mobbed, bud. So you can spend the whole day at the booth. That way people can actually line up and you're not just getting mobbed all over the show. But yeah, this is amazing. Yes. How long have you been building this costume for? Because I know
this thing is actually, this has had many iterations. I've done Borg suits many times for many years. This particular one, I think I built about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think I've worn it maybe 3 or 4 times. And each year I kind of add a few more things to it. I find something somewhere and I think, that would be cool to add on. And so then the whole thing gets upgraded again.
And you're doing it again?
Yeah.
You're doing it again now.
That particular headpiece did not stay on very well. A lot of it was just sheer willpower for it not to fall off. So I have something a little bit better designed for this year that can just sit on my head and stay in place very nicely, and has a few more wires and doodads on it, and should be fun.
Yeah, this is crazy to me.
I love this suit. It's you don't see very many people do a Borg.
Mhm.
Or they might have a few little pieces here and there as the early transition, but I wanted to do a
Like a
full
full out Borg.
blown Borg coming right out of the charging port, staring down the crew as they come on board. And so it
And
all
I know
started.
sorry, go ahead.
With a little claw that you see
Yeah.
on the fake arm. I found that at a toy store, and that was the inspiration for the whole suit.
I remember you telling me that story.
And I remember talking to you early on, like probably around when I first met you. I don't know if you were wearing
Yeah.
this when I first met you, but I remember asking you about it specifically, and you told me a lot of it's dollar store stuff. Like
Yeah.
a lot of it is very low cost stuff.
Yeah.
And we literally last week we did an episode on cosplay on a budget. So why don't you go over with us a little bit, if you don't mind, in some detail,
Sure.
what you, because I didn't get a chance to pick your brain about it, but
Yeah.
when you're talking about some of the pieces that went into putting this together, could you throw some details our way?
Sure. The basis of it is basically just a bunch of foam EVA mats, just flat mats. They usually have that little diamond pattern on the back.
Yep.
You can buy some really good quality, high density stuff, but at the time I was, trying to throw it together cheaply. So I got a bunch of those from the dollar store. I think they're like $3 a sheet, and did a lot of, studying on how to work with EVA foam and how to shape it and foam it and seal it and finish it. And that gave me the basis for building the armor itself. Wrap your body with saran wrap and duct tape and draw the pattern on, and then transfer it to the foam, shape it, foam it. And then from there, a Borg is just a matter of, a lot of automotive wire from Canadian Tire and the dollar store, any bits of wire you can find here or there, old computer parts. And then, a lot of the LEDs were just like little Halloween lights that you get at Halloween time, or lights that you can put on your bike, things you can put around your shoe for walking at night so that your shoes are lit up. Anything that had any kind of a little LED light and a little battery pack already in it that I could kit bash and throw in there. And then I was fortunate that my wife worked at a plant where a lot of really interesting little aluminum flashings came out from the pieces that she was making. Yep. And they just suited being put onto this suit or embedded into the suit to give it that kind of mechanical cybernetic kind of look.
That's wild. And I know you go by Locutus when you're like this. So is that Picard iteration from Next Gen, is that like the inspiration for it? Do you look at specific Borg and be like, I want to model it on that? Or do you just take like what you're saying, more like you just find bits and pieces that you think would look cool on it and you got them on the suit and that's the end result?
A little more of the latter half, actually. My Locutus was, how do you not love Jean-Luc Picard?
Right. No, for sure.
First of all.
Yeah.
But I kind of took his inspiration of, there he is as a Borg. But then I found that when I got into building this Borg, that his version was a bit simplified in terms of the impact it would have as a cosplay.
Yep.
And I started to notice that the drones, the battle drones, the stunt drones, they were all very intricately designed and created. They had the extra limbs on it, whereas Jean-Luc still had both of his hands. And so I kind of decided to change it up later on and go full Borg drone, where it was the mechanical hand, the assimilation tubes, and the full replacement of the eye with an eyepiece to really give it that strong, heavy Borg appearance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such fascinating work. And so how long, I know you said there's been a lot of iterations over it, but I mean, as far as the base suit goes, like how old is the suit at this point now?
This one I've worn, like I said, I think I've worn this one maybe 3 times. So this one's only a couple of years old now.
Okay. And how do you find it's holding up as far as the wear and tear? Because there's so many little pieces on it. And you even mentioned like making improvements so shit stops falling off.
Yeah. Yeah.
How have you found, is it more like people want to get a picture and they put an arm and then a piece is off, or like, or is it just general wear and tear from having, like, how does it hold up with that many pieces on it?
Not as bad as you would think. I take a lot of care to find a lot of points where I can mechanically attach stuff.
Yep.
Bolted right through the EVA foam. so that it cannot be torn off unless you're actually tearing the suit itself.
Yep.
And a lot of things, like anywhere I have a magnetic connection, extremely strong magnets, like stuff that you really need to pull hard to separate it.
Yep.
Regular magnets won't cut it. They'll fall off too quickly.
Sense. Yep.
Many different types of glue. There's many different methods of attachment that you can think of to keep the thing kind of sucked onto your body as much as it can be, so that you don't have too many extraneous parts that can be knocked off. I know that this suit has a lot of wires hanging off of it and everything, but I did try to kind of keep them compacted against the armor as much as I could, so that when you're trying to maneuver around through a crowded con, that you can maintain most of your pieces. But yes, I do have to add stuff to it occasionally to keep it going. But mostly I add stuff because I see it's like what happens when you get a tattoo and then you see an empty space of skin and you're like, oh, maybe I could put another tattoo in there.
No, I mean, you can't have too much shit on for a Borg. Now, as far as and I'm sorry, JS, I don't mean to like bogart all this.
No, go right ahead.
But as far as the makeup goes, what are you using for? Is that like just a Maron bait? Like, what are you using for that whiteout kind of look and then the black around the eye?
Simple, just a simple Maron clown white makeup will do. If you want something a bit more rigid for a con, like when I come on Friday with you guys, I'll make PAX makeup, where you mix 50% Prozade and 50% acrylic paint.
So it's just sticking right on you at that point. Oh, that's not moving anywhere.
How do you get that off?
That won't sweat off.
No, absolutely.
And then it's just a little bit of black eyeliner and black acrylic paint around the eyes, a little bit of airbrush work to do a little bit of faint green veins as though they're showing through the skin a little bit.
Yep.
Pretty simple, basically, for the makeup.
Are you doing that all yourself, or did someone help you? Yeah, you do. That's all you. Yeah.
And you're even airbrushing yourself?
For the most part, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, it's a little difficult. I've kind of designed my new helmet that anytime I have to do the airbrushing, I can do it somewhere where I can actually see. It's just a little bit on the top of my head and mostly on my face in the front. My ears and the back of my head are mostly covered. And so it's a little bit easier that way. But and I've designed it so that I can do that makeup before I put the armor on. So I can reach around and look and do stuff. And then I can slip all the armor on with all the makeup in place.
And can you put the armor on by yourself, or do you need help getting into it?
This suit I can put on by myself. Yeah.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
That's
the one little connection. Sometimes I do have to ask somebody in a parking lot, hey bud, can you help me out?
Yeah. Just snap this parachute clip for me or whatever. Yeah. I've been there before. Lord knows, but
people are generous and helpful, and
we get it, right? We've all been there. So yeah. I need help with shit all the time. It's you lose the embarrassment factor pretty quickly when you get into life, right?
You learn to ask for help.
Yeah,
Can you strap me up? Yeah.
And they're usually so awestruck by a pretty spectacular costume that the embarrassment factor is just they're just like, wow, this is pretty cool. Oh yeah, thanks.
Now, you still must sweat like a hog in this, though. I mean, there's no way this is.
Well, that was going to be my question. Yeah. I mean, this is when we first met Richard for the first time, me and Rob.
Yes.
And this was in the middle of the summertime. This was in August at at Fan Expo. Yeah,
that would have been the first time I wore it.
Sweating bullets in that.
All of you.
We were sweating bullets as well, but he's wearing way more foam than we were.
Yeah, people ask me, hey, so how do you go to the washroom in that? And I tell them, you don't need to.
Yeah, you don't.
You sweat so much, there's not a drop of water left in your body.
That's what you just tell them. There's a whole Borg water reclamation system built in. It's like a still suit. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I just want to get to some of the comments here. People have been commenting like mad here. For one, our budget cosplay queen is saying, yes, budget friendly. I mean, dollar store is budget friendly up to a certain degree, I suppose.
This suit, even with all the updating and stuff that I've done it by adding war blood and other things, I'm still probably not even at the $300 mark yet.
Hilarious.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Hilarious. No, hilarious. Look at it. It is less
That's all
than
right.
$300.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that makes me want to cry when I think about how much it cost us to do these Predators.
Little bit.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
I just
God.
spent that on my new cowl for Batman. Like that's like, come on.
Wow.
Man.
Wow.
Good for you.
Well, that's kind of part of why I wanted to, I'm planning on opening my own YouTube channel as well. And I kind of want to make my focus on how to do budget builds that don't look like budget builds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
5-star
100%.
quality, 2-star price. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Lindy Cosplay Supplies is with us. Hi, Lindy. I'm with you on repurposing found items. I often walk around hardware and craft stores to get inspired.
Yes.
It's funny she says that because that happens to me all the time. I'll be walking through a store and something will catch my eye and I'll be like, oh, that would be cool for whatever, right? It's funny how sometimes you'll just see something and it's completely out of the blue and you're like, oh, I'm going to use split wire loom for this, or oh, I'm going to use a little claw toy from the dollar store, and it's like,
yeah. And for all of you guys out there, go shop in the women's department. You will find amazingly cut pieces, and you got to look for the larger sizes, of course, to fit some of us bigger guys. But they always have, the materials are always a little bit better made. The cuts are a little bit more form fitting, which suits cosplay stuff. So I find that the women's department in many of the secondhand stores is a really good source to get some great items that you can build from.
I'm just reading through the comments here. Nothing beats dollar store hot glue creativity, ingenuity. It's like playing MacGyver.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Canadian cherry wine. I don't know who that is. I thought earlier that was Canadian Comic Cutie, I think is what I said. Oh no, that was Canadian Comic Cutie earlier. So
yeah, she's in there too. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
I think that might have been a follow-up comment to something else here. Guys, do we want to take a break here on the cosplay stuff and talk a little bit about some of what's going on in the DC world? Because everybody started texting me one day. Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Everybody was sending me friggin' messages on Instagram, on Messenger. Like everybody was sending me the same articles and tweets, and I was like, "Oh my god, what the hell is good?" And it was Tuesday because I was at work and I couldn't look at it. And I was whelmed.
So you weren't overwhelmed. You weren't underwhelmed. You were just whelmed.
Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Of course.
Well, how did you guys feel about everything that's been, because so much has been announced. Actually, maybe we should go through it one by one.
I've got them here on a list.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Go ahead. You start throwing them out.
Yeah, no problem. So they're going to start off with an animated series called Creature Commandos,
which I know nothing about.
It's 7 episodes. All 7 episodes have already been written by Gunn. It is already in production, even though the voice actors have yet to be cast. So I'm assuming they're doing a lot of previs on it as far as that goes.
Do we know what the premise is?
Yeah, so initially in the comics, it was classic horror monsters that would get together. Think of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, in that kind of a thing. Okay. Now they've updated it a little bit to reflect some more diverse characters, but you still have Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. You get very looking like a Creature of the Black Lagoon type monster. Rick Flag Sr., I believe, is the leader of the team. And then Weasel, that appeared in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Rick Flag Sr., yes. So he's like the lone sort of regular human-looking character on the team. I'm assuming he'll be sort of the audience in. And then, like I said, the Weasel character that debuted in The Suicide Squad, the James Gunn film,
would be in this.
Is the linchpin. And I guess the key with these is, Gunn was saying that he wants to make sure, much like they did with on The Mandalorian, where they brought the voice actor Katie Sackhoff that voiced Bo-Katan into the live action as Bo-Katan. They want to do the same thing here. So if you're cast if you're cast on an animated and there's going to be a live action portrayal, they want to make sure it's the same actor across both of those mediums. Next up is Waller, which is a spinoff from Peacemaker, because we know that Peacemaker is probably going to be the linchpin for a lot of the TV stuff. So it is going to.
Waller is one of those weird ones to me that Like, what's the idea here? We already have a Suicide Squad series of movies. We already have a Suicide Squad based TV show with Peacemaker. So where are they going with Waller? Like, what's the point of bringing a show like Waller in at this point?
It's almost like you could have called it Peacemaker season 3.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
so it's meant to be a bridge between season 1 and season 2 of Peacemaker. In fact, they're going to push season 2 of Peacemaker out. I think for me, what I would assume it is it's all the different portrayals of Waller we've had over all the media. You never really get it from Waller's point of view. So that's my assumption is we're probably going to get what she has to go through in a day to put these teams together, to send them out into the field, to potentially blow their heads off, to make the hard choices that she has to make. And it is Viola Davis coming back to the role. I think that has the potential to be a really cool, dramatic series. Hopefully that's the way it is, and it's not something goofy like Peacemaker is. But yeah, that would be my guess. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but
I'm assuming her daughter is going to be in this as well. Oh, sorry. What was that, Richard?
I was going to say, they kind of touched a little bit on, her backstory, in the Suicide Squad movies. So I can kind of see, I think Jeff's right. I think they may kind of go that route with it.
Well, they brought her daughter into Peacemaker, right? So there's obviously a connection there, right?
Yes. And I assume they'll have, from what I understand too, some of the supporting characters from Peacemaker will also be on the Waller show.
I'm sure they will.
It's definitely directly connected. After that, you've got Superman Legacy, which from what Gunn said is the true beginning or the kickoff for DCU's plans. Peter Safran, who's the co-producer, said it is not an origin story. So it focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned. So it certainly sounds like they're going to play into what everybody has discussed when it comes to making a Superman film, how hard it is because the character isn't really meant for modern times. So I guess it looks like they're going to lean into that a little bit. I don't know if they're going to do it quite as well as they did with Christopher Reeve and the aw shucks kind of mentality that he had for it, but it sounds like that's kind of the way we're going. I think this movie's going to have a hard time. This movie has to be amazing for them to have kicked Henry Cavill to the curb to make this film. Like, they're really going to have to nail this, and Gunn is writing it himself. So that's the one I'm the most worried about out of all of these.
Yeah. So am I. I was also a little annoyed by the comment that James Gunn made, and it's been making the rounds. I'm assuming it's true. I didn't see him make that comment, but he apparently made a comment that Henry Cavill wasn't fired. He just was never hired. Like,
never
playing the smart ass.
Yeah,
he's playing the smart ass, right? He's like, oh, we didn't fire him. We never hired him.
Yeah. He did say that he felt that the previous regime had really dicked Cavill around. And I think that's fair to say, obviously, the way they treated him and portrayed the character and kind of kept him hanging on. But do you know who will play the new Superman? Asked Lindy Cosplay Supplies. No, Gunn's been very cagey on casting rumors. He's still in the midst of writing the script, so I don't imagine we're going to get to casting for a bit yet. But they've got a release date for that one. That one's supposed to be coming out July 11th of 2025. So
yeah, I can't see that, but
they're going to have to get on their horse if they want to get that done and in theaters.
They're going to put big movie like that. Yeah, they better get
they
better get moving.
The
writing will make it or break it. Oh,
100%. The one I'm most looking forward to is Lanterns.
Yes.
So the Green Lantern TV series, there has been a TV series in the works for years. It was going to be on HBO at one point, then it was HBO Max. That's all been scrapped. They're looking for a very grounded, terrestrial-based, true detective style feature with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. So this is, and from what they've talked about, I'll quote it here. This plays a really big role in leading into the main story we are telling across TV and film. So this is chapter 1 that's been released, most of chapter 1. It's called chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. And apparently my assumption is whoever the big bad is going to be, or whatever the crux of whatever this first season is going to be revealed in Lanterns. So I'm getting because it's when I initially saw terrestrial based, I'm like, they're space cops. Why in the fuck is this terrestrial based? And then I'm remembering Neil Adams' run with Green Lantern, Green Arrow in the comics. That was all terrestrial based. Essentially, it's the two of them basically traveling across America and experiencing all these different things. I think it has the potential to be really, really good if it's like that, if it plays into that. because Hal will likely be the very buttoned down conservative, and Stuart will likely be the more liberal side of that. And I think that the two of them will not come to blows, but I think they'll have a lot of disagreements on how situations should be handled and how it goes. But
it's funny, weird that they would have them both together to begin with, you know, and the way the lanterns typically work, there is only one lantern per sector. If there are two lanterns in the same sector, one lantern gets reassigned to another sector. Unless
it's a really big deal, whatever it is that they're looking into, and it requires more lanterns
if that's the big bad of the whole thing gets revealed there, then maybe it starts making sense why you've got two lanterns on Earth.
Yep.
You know, trying to figure out who knows who it could be, right? I mean, there's so many big bads in DC. As far as I'm concerned, the DC villains are better than the Marvel villains.
Always have been.
That's just me. I've always preferred the DC villains over the Marvel villains. The Marvel villains always felt like cheap knockoffs.
They do heroes better. We do villains better. But there's no as far as film and TV goes. As far as the comics go, I disagree. But as far as film and TV go, DC's always done villains better, and Marvel's always done heroes better for sure.
Yeah. Victoria is asking, what I want to know is why some actors are staying after the reset in Flash, but others aren't. So, I mean, we don't officially know. They haven't explained it, but if they go by the way that Flashpoint storylines usually happen, the whole point of the Flashpoint storyline is you can reinvent it to whatever you want. You can keep people or you can get rid of people. You can replace people. You can do whatever you want. That's the whole point of Flashpoint, right? Is it's a mashup and a reset. That's how we got the New 52, right? So, that's how we get every new iteration. DC.
Crisis on Infinite Earths, like
it's always Flashpoint. Yeah. So all the crises are because of the Flash, right? So, I mean, that's kind of the point of the premise. If you want to keep something that you like or works, but you want to reinvent another piece, you can do that. Now, I'll say this: even if they keep some of the actors, you can bet they're going to change look and feel wise. If they decide to keep Gal Gadot, for example, as Wonder Woman's going to change. Her outfit's going to change. The tone of the movies are going to change. This is a new regime. And if James Gunn is going by what he's saying, it looks like he's going to try to replicate what they do in the comics, where everything ties into an overarching story. Everything gets rebooted every once in a while. If he follows the formula of the comics and of the DC animated movies, who knows? What's next? Sorry, Jeff.
That's okay. No. We're here to talk about him. So that's good. The next one is for me is the bit of the wild card, pun intended, coming from Wildstorm Studios. The Authority is coming. So yeah, it came from Wildstorm. So those of you sort of like on the outside of the comic, back in the 90s, the early 90s, a bunch of comic creators broke off from DC and Marvel, and they created Image Comics. And those comics were creator owned because creators over the course of the years were creating all these great characters from Marvel and DC, but didn't have any ownership over them. So if they left, the character would stay with Marvel and DC and they could do anything they want with it. Image in this case was different, and Jim Lee was one of the guys that founded Image, and he created Wildstorm as an imprint on Image. But eventually he brought the Wildstorm back. When Jim Lee got back with DC, he brought Wildstorm with him because it was his IP and his property. So
they bought it out.
Yes, so
DC bought out Wildstorm from Jim Lee.
Yes, but
that was the deal, bringing him back, and then they made him like VP of.
That's what I'm saying, of creative or whatever it is. That so the Authority is a team-based book, originally from Wildstorm, but is now going to be incorporated into the DCU. They are essentially similar to the Justice League, but they are a lot more hard-hitting. They will do whatever it takes to instill some level of justice. Like what they're saying here, not every film and TV show is going to be about good guy versus bad guy. Giant things from the sky coming, good guy wins. There are white hats, black hats, gray hats, kind of like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. They know you want them on the wall, or at least they believe that. So it's a lot more hard hitting. But this one, for me, I've never read a single panel of The Authority. I've heard good things over the years, but I don't know anything about it other than what Gunn and Safran are saying about it right now. So to me, that's the real wild card about all of these. Like,
well, when you think of what Gunn was able to do with Guardians of the Galaxy for the masses, like taking these lesser known characters and then blowing them up into this, this great spectacle, these great characters.
Yeah.
So maybe same thing with this.
Maybe. I think we're going to find out. That's for sure. Next up is Paradise Lost.
I've never, Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
I've never heard of these guys before at all. Like, I don't understand how I've never even heard of this book.
Well, because they were a Wildstorm imprint, so they weren't incorporated into the main DCU. And there was actually a spinoff of that book called Planetary that was also very popular, and both books were critically acclaimed. Both books got a lot of love from the critics as far as the because I think it's Warren Ellis, I think is the original author. So and Warren Ellis's work is fantastic, obviously. So he's no Alan Moore, but he's certainly better than Grant Morrison as far as that goes. So because shit makes sense. So
interesting.
Paradise Lost is up next, which is a Game of Thrones style drama set on the all-female island that is Wonder Woman's birthplace, Themyscira. So my assumption, from what I've heard, is that this is a prequel. It takes place before the events of the Wonder Woman films. But it shows the breaking of the Amazons, because there's not just Amazons in Themyscira. There's a whole other Amazonian nation in Egypt. And from what I understand, it's going to be how that breakup happens and the fallout from that, including possibly an alternate Wonder Woman from the Egyptian level of Amazons and such. So,
which means we're probably going to see Atlanteans as well. We're probably gonna deal in the gods, and I'm not gonna say, out of everything that they've announced, I think this might be the one that I'm the most interested in.
The Paradise Lost, yeah.
It
looks, if you look at the graphic that they put up for the show, it's literally like there's an Amazon sword through some guy's neck. Like, it looks like they're not going to pull any punches. On showing how brutal it is to live and grow up on Paradise Island. So. Sorry, Richard, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
I just think it could be a real a sleeper hit, a dark horse. Not something that you may not think is going to blow up, but it could, and
it could very well. I mean, if it's Game of Thrones style and they stick to that level of drama and intrigue and everything else that goes with that, that could be pretty badass. That's for sure.
As long as the storytelling is good, which Gunn has said trying to focus heavily on is.
That's all these, right? And guys, before we get any further, let's remember too, not everything that's come out of Marvel Studios, even at the beginning, was a smash hit. We all remember Iron Man 2. We all remember Thor: The Dark World. We all remember Age of Ultron. It's not like every single thing that Marvel put out at all times is just a banger and a banger and a banger. They had their levels of missteps too. So not all of these are going to be like the most amazing thing you've ever seen. And that if one of them is bad, it's like, oh, we'll throw the whole thing out. It's not how this works, man. Like, you're going to have some that are going to blow up and you're going to have some that are going to be tepid. That's just what happens.
I'm gonna take a break here, because let's be honest, if you look at the way DC have been doing movies lately, the majority of people have not liked what they've been doing. For most of the people, DC has been shitting the bed for decades now, right? So
it just seemed like they didn't have a clear directive of.
They didn't, and now they do. Right now they've got their Kevin Feige, which is James Gunn, right? So hopefully that'll help them out. If James Gunn's vision is completely out to lunch, it's still gonna suck, right? Like, we have to. And that's why I'm very cautiously optimistic about what I'm seeing, because some of it looks interesting, some of it looks really cool, some of it is like, what's going on here? But if the first few shit the bed, people are going to be like, screw this, right?
Oh,
and
no.
They bother watching the rest.
They've got to have some winners early. Like the MCU. Technically, it launched with Incredible Hulk, but it really got its feet with Iron Man, which was the second film in the series, which is still holds up to this day. 2008, still a fantastic film.
Yeah.
Without that film, would the MCU have turned into what it did? Probably not.
No.
Right? Because it was followed up with Thor, which was good, but not great. It was followed up with Captain America, the First Avenger, which to me is one of the most boring of the MCU films made. And then the Avengers come along, and that's a big deal. But yeah, they won't all be bangers out of the gate. But yeah, you've got to have at least that one or two linchpin films that will kind of kick things off. Speaking of the DCU's, the new DCU's Batman will appear in The Brave and the Bold. So we get introduced to Bruce Wayne. And then we jump right to Damian Wayne as Robin. So we're skipping over 3 Robins to get to, in the comics, what is the 4th Robin. I guess it's based mostly on the Grant Morrison run on Batman. And it is not to be confused with the Robert Pattinson version of Batman. So this is a different Batman. I know they said early on that there would not be 4 Batmen. Well, there's going to be 2, because we're also getting the Batman sequel where Pattinson will continue to portray the Dark Knight. 2025 is when that movie comes out. October 3rd of 2025. It's going to be called The Batman Part 2. And this is where, for me, as the comic nerd, things get interesting. So anything that's not going to be taking place in the main continuity is going to be called Elseworlds. It's going to have the Elseworlds tags on it. That's lifted directly from DC Comics. Anytime DC did something that was broadly outside of continuity, Superman, Red Sun, you name it, those are Kingdom Come. Those were considered Elseworlds titles, mentioning this taking place in a different timeline or a different universe. So the Batman sequel, the Harley Quinn DC animated series, anything that's not tied into the main continuity, it's going to get slapped with the Elseworlds tag. Superman and Lois on the CW, another example. So that's all going to be Elseworlds, including the Batman sequel. So October 23rd, 2025. So yeah, we're getting Superman in July, and then we're getting Batman in October of 2025. So that's going to be a pretty huge deal for us comic nerds, that's for sure. And then go ahead.
Hang on. I want to talk about the Brave and the Bold a little bit, because by reading the description and them talking about how it seems like this show will mainly focus on Damian, right? This is going to be more of a Damian show than a Batman show. Now, do you guys remember the Brave and the Bold?
Are you getting that impression from the read through that you've gotten thus far?
Yeah, I'm getting the impression that the description focuses on Damian a lot.
Oh, okay. Because I know they're beginning to introduce the entire Bat family in that.
Yeah.
So you're going to get everybody, but yeah.
Well, that's the whole premise of the Brave and the Bold, right? The Brave and the Bold was always about Batman and another hero doing something, right? It was Batman and Robin, Batman and Batgirl, Batman and Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman. That was the whole premise of the Brave and the Bold, right? Every episode, it was Batman and friends, basically, right? But when I think Brave and the Bold, I think kiddie, funny. It was a much more lighthearted type of a show. But then you introduce the murdering son, who was raised by Ra's al Ghul to be an assassin in the Brave and the Bold.
Clearly based more on the comic side than the TV show side, but it
has to be.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I get what you're saying.
It seems like a weird choice. I don't know. Somebody said here in the comics, in the comments, the whole Bat family. Oh, Victoria. They're starting with I like that they're starting with Damon simply because that means we'll get the whole Bat family, and I agree.
Yeah, that's cool.
It means we'll be able to get everybody because he's the latest, right? So that means that there's already been a
Dick. There's already been a
Jason. A Jason, and
a Tim. Yeah.
They've all been around, and which is great. We're gonna get to see those characters, I hope.
And I think a lot of people don't know who Damian Wayne is, so it does make sense that they are going to spend some time on filling out his backstory and telling us where he came from. Like, if he just shows up and he's like, "That's my illegitimate son," everybody's gonna be like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, so they've got to have some. You all know who Batman is. You all know who Batgirl. Like, those characters are already so well known. Damian is rather late to the party, so it makes sense that they would spend some time kind of fleshing him out a little bit. From a boy Crazy Mike, I don't know if he's watching right now. I don't know if the Luddite can even knows what YouTube is, but Booster Gold finally getting his own series on HBO Max, live action.
This one sounds good.
It sounds like Gunn's got a pretty good, and this is
the one that's gonna shine, I think.
This is Gunn's wheelhouse. A goofy about a loser from the future who uses basic future technology to come back to today and pretend to be a superhero. Imposter syndrome as a superhero. He's a goofball. He's an idiot. It couldn't be any more James Gunn if you tried. Like, makes perfect sense. And apparently one of the most requested heroes to get their own series has been Booster. So I'm hoping we get some Ted Kord Blue Beetle action in there. I think it'd be a shame if we didn't, but there's already been a Dick quote of the night. Settle down. Jeez Louise, so thirsty over there. I tell you, awful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Booster.
I can't see them doing a Booster Gold show without the Blue Beetle somehow being involved, even if it's just introducing the character, they almost have to.
Well,
I
you would
mean,
think they would tie it somehow into the Blue Beetle movie that's coming out, obviously. Like that would make the most
Yeah.
sense. I know it's a different Blue Beetle, it's Jaime Reyes, but apparently in the one still, they got a Cord Industries building right behind Blue Beetle. So clearly Ted Cord is some kind of a factor in that film. So you would think there would be a way to, I don't know, tie it
yeah,
all
but
together.
Jaime gets the Beetle from Cortec.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's a direct it's not
Yes,
like it's just
but-
a reinvention, right?
No,
It's,
but
there's a link in the two.
there is, but Ted Cord is dead by then. So
Oh, he is. Yes, yeah.
yeah. He's killed by Maxwell Lord.
Well, there's nothing
so-
that says that these shows are all going to be present timeline. Like we know that Paradise Lost is going to be thousands of years in the past, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Well,
who knows?
Together though.
Sorry.
From what I gathered anyway, it is all of this is all supposed to be all linked together. Like everything's all supposed to link up to each other.
It's all one story that they're telling. Yes. Yes. So if they introduce the big bad in Lanterns, my guess is that the next time we're going to see the big bad is in Paradise Lost. Right? And that's probably going to be the last thing to come out before the finale, I think, because that's going to give us the whole backstory of the bad guy, I think. But we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how that plays out. There's
right
something else on the list.
There's two more. On the heels of The Authority, the other one that I think is a real wild card is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. This one changes up her origin a little bit. It's more based off of a recent Tom King run. Literally, the comic was called Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So we'll see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, and who watched everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then come to Earth. She is much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. I haven't read Tom King's run on that, so I don't know what to expect, but that is not her original sort of yes, she came from Kandor. In the comics, her ship is simply slower to get to Earth than Kal-El's was. So by the time she gets to Earth, Kal-El is already grown and is already Superman, and she's like essentially a teenage girl because she took so much longer in the rocket. So she has to come to terms with the fact that her cousin, who she was sent to protect, is Superman already established type of thing. So she tries to kind of find her way. This definitely sounds different. I don't know. Like this one's at a left field for me. This could be amazing or it could be a train wreck. I don't.
Yeah, are they going to go with a really edgy style on this? Do you think?
That kind of sounds like what it's like based on his description. Like I don't know what he means by more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. Like, is she just going to start snapping fools' necks? Like, what are we? You know what I mean?
Feel they have to do something drastic with Supergirl.
Yeah.
You know, Supergirl, I feel, is one of those properties that's always had a hard time getting off the ground. You know, the original Supergirl movie never did, didn't do well. The TV show, I mean, the first few seasons of the TV show were really good, and then it went downhill quick, and then they just canceled it because it wasn't doing well. Yeah. Like there's I don't know, there's something they have to do with that character to make people latch on to it, because there's a great origin backstory there, especially if they're going the route that Jeff is saying.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I hope they do something good. From what I've been seeing, I don't know. I don't think it's going to do well. I just feel like it's going to be one of those
the whole premise leads itself to this really nice, dark, edgy, almost dystopian kind of feel that we don't, that we haven't seen from a small girl, a Supergirl presentation.
Yeah. So. No, agreed. I'm worried that because DC already gets shit for being so dark in comparison to all the other superhero stuff and franchises, I'm worried that if this goes, if this goes too far in that direction, that people will be like, oh, here goes DC again. They're like all the dark and gritty ones or whatever. So yeah, unless it ends up being like a Tale of Redemption, unless we get, the movie Superman comes into that film and helps her to realize that there's a better way or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. That one's, like I said, that one's a real wild. That one's right with The Authority for me. That one, That one's either going to be like, it's going to be a 10 or a 0. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's going to be a lot of middle ground on that one, but
I was thinking more of the TV shows. Like that's kind of the latest version we've seen from Supergirl is the TV stuff. Very, it's all very brightly lit. It's all very,
for sure. Yes. It was very like CW, like teen romance, very soapy. So I don't think they're going that route. That's for sure based on that description. So I think they could easily make risky choices for her because they already have the attempts with her character. So why not? No. Take the chances. I agree, Marianne. Absolutely take the chances.
Swing for the fences.
Yeah,
they have to.
Yeah.
They have to, because if this doesn't work for Supergirl, what does that mean for Supergirl, right? Like they've tried multiple times now, and from a movie that just didn't make it to a TV show that got canceled to an appearance in another movie that apparently now is not going to come out.
And they need to take that character out of the shadow of Superman.
So it's funny you say that. And I was trying to think, I was trying to make an opinion on if I was excited about this project or not. And for me, Supergirl always shined more when she was part of something else. When she's part of Young Justice, for example. Okay. Supergirl within Young Justice is able to be Supergirl without Superman. Do you know what I mean? She can be the Superman of the show, right?
Yeah.
I always found her to be better in a pull her out of the Superman world, pull her out of just being Supergirl, put her as part of something else. There, she'll really be able to be the Supergirl, right? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say to anybody?
No, of course.
I mean, I always loved her run on Young Justice. I thought that was the best iteration of Supergirl we've had so far.
See, if you like watching the DC animated movies, there was one that was called Superman Batman Apocalypse.
Yes.
And it basically tells the tale, like she crash lands on Earth. Apocalypse takes an interest in her. Darkseid does. She ends up on Apocalypse. There ends up being a massive fight between her and Superman, and then Superman and Darkseid. That's a whole thing. That to me was my favorite iteration of the whole thing, because it did show what a lot of the comics end up usually backing up is she's actually a little bit more powerful than Superman as far as like just raw power goes, because he's been on Earth for so long and she spent most of her time not. She's actually got denser cells or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't know, like we've been saying, like there's they can take some chances on this one, and
well, I think in that iteration of Supergirl, she's already an older teenager by the time she leaves Krypton, isn't she?
No, same thing. She leaves Krypton. They leave again. She can't, right? Because it blows up. So they leave Krypton at the same time, but his ship gets there very, very quickly.
But she's already older than him, is she not?
That's what I'm saying. So his ship gets to Earth very, very quickly. Hers does not. Hers takes like 18 years or 15 years or 14 years to get to Earth, as opposed to his got there like almost immediately. So I don't know why the difference happened, but that's how they explain the fact that he arrives as a baby and she gets there as a teenager, but the planet blew up at the same time and they both essentially left at the same time, right? So that's the comic iteration.
What about all the references of her witnessing, such atrocities on a chunk of Krypton?
Yeah, she was originally from the city of Kandor, which is the city that Brainiac shrunk down and kept in a jar in his collection. So I don't know if they're going to do that, whereas maybe Kandor breaks off instead, doesn't get taken by Brainiac, but like ends up like free floating in space, and then she watches the destruction of Krypton, and as a result, because they're on a chunk of rock, people are obviously, there's no resource, people are going to start dying off around her and such, and maybe then they shoot her on the rocket and try to get her to Earth at that point. Maybe that's why in this iteration she's going to get to Earth later on in life, because she's living on this chunk of rock that used to be part of Krypton. But yeah, I'm just basing that on what they've said here in the thing. So I don't know. Yeah, could go either way.
Victoria's saying, imagine if they had a Young Justice live action show or movie, I would cease to exist. Yeah, I would be 100% for a Young Justice live action movie. I would also be 100% for Titans to come back. They've canceled Titans, and that pisses me off, because Titans was amazing. Didn't really like what they did with Jason. Not a big fan of what they did with Jason, even though I'm a big fan of Jason Todd. But otherwise, it was a fantastic show. Anyway, sorry, Jeff.
No. It's just the last one, and JS, you've been screaming about this on the Star Trek side, but now you'll get it on the DC side. So Swamp Thing
Mhm.
So this is now, I believe, the third attempt at a Swamp Thing film. So it is a film. It's a horror film, and it's supposed to close out the part of the first chapter, this Gods and Monsters chapter 1.
Yeah.
This is going to sound so, I'm not a horror guy. I don't like horror films, but Swamp Thing is such an intriguing character in DC Comics, especially based on the Alan Moore run, where they really fleshed it out. They introduced the Green and how powerful Swamp Thing really is. Like, he's essentially a god. He's like an elemental, like a nature elemental on Earth that can connect to all the plant life on Earth. In fact, they're playing with this with Poison Ivy now. Poison Ivy now in the comics and such has access to the Green, and that's ramped up her powers through the roof as well. So that this has the potential to be a really, really cool show, but they're leaning heavily onto the horror side. Apparently, like, they're not going to fuck around. It's like a pure horror film. So
Was it going to be a show or a movie?
Movie. Yeah. Because they tried the show, it was only
DC,
for a season.
Yeah, did a show. They only got through a couple episodes before.
That was weird. I don't know what happened. I
Yeah.
never found out the full story on why that was canceled, but yeah, it was
I don't know,
canceled.
because people were loving it.
Yeah.
People were really loving it. I never got a chance to watch it because after a couple episodes they canceled it, and I was like, well, screw it. I'm not gonna get into a show for it just to be canceled. But people were really loving it. And now they're coming back, like a couple years later with a Swamp Thing movie. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what to think about that. I mean, I remember the old Swamp Thing movie from back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Or was it 80s? I forget.
I think it was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah, I think so.
But I was never into Swamp Thing, so I don't know.
I think it was an intriguing character. I like that they're going with the origin story on it, and I think horror is appropriate for that character to tell that story.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to lend
proper
itself well.
horror.
Yeah.
If it's proper horror, I'm all in. You know, if they actually say we're making a real proper horror show, it's going to be scary, it's going to be gory.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Sexy Swamp Thing. You guys are so thirsty over there. Marvel never did horror. I mean, they tried with the Werewolf by Night. I haven't watched it. I've heard it was good. I think that's Marvel's stab at horror up until now. So we'll see what that one's like. I don't know if that's closing out that first chapter. I imagine we'll be waiting a while before that comes out. But
Fox was trying to do a horror movie with New Mutants.
Right.
Which I guess didn't really turn into a horror movie. It was more of a clickbait than anything else. But
I don't know. I never watched it. So
it's anyway. Yeah.
Is
there a Miss Swamp Thing? Michael is asking if there's a Miss Swamp Thing. Well,
there is a love interest. Yes. So it's a tragic story. Like it was a man named Alec Holland, gets covered in chemicals, goes out to a swamp, becomes the Swamp Thing. Alan Moore's run back in the 80s changed some of that, but the essence of that is still the same. So Yep. Yeah.
Our buddy Michael, Mr. Myers Corp Creation, saying cancel due to production, had to keep a swamp on a soundstage, took too much money. The swamp stage, yes, that'd be fun to maintain.
That's what that's the volume for now. They can just use the volume. They can make anything they want now.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, wrong company, but
of the volume, I'm going to do a little bit of a pivot, guys. I apologize. Why don't you throw up that picture of Richard in his Boba Fett armor while I spill some beans here?
I sure can do that. Let me bring up the pictures again.
I'm gonna spill some Star Wars level beans, so we might as well have a picture of this guy's epic.
Where did it go? Here it is.
Boba Fett cosplay. By the way, that broke at our booth.
I was so horrified.
That jetpack
when the
hit the ground.
Fell.
I was like, "Ah!" Yeah.
My own fault for trying to show off and pull off a cool pose.
We all
man,
just gasped.
I was horrified. I was like, "Oh my god, I am so sorry."
That didn't even, I don't know, it didn't even faze me for some reason. I just thought, I can fix it. It can be fixed.
Yeah, and you're right, and we all have that same reaction. But when it's somebody else's stuff, and
and they're at your booth, and you're like,
they're at my, and I feel like we were like kind of all like stuck with each other and trying to move, and like
Yeah.
knocked into each other, and it goes flying, and it hits the
Oh,
ground,
when
and
that
it
hit the ground,
smashes
dude.
into like 4 or 5. And I'm
Hey,
like, oh,
I was
Look
like,
how much more fun we're having talking about it now because
well, now, yeah. Then I was like, we're fucked. We're so fucked.
yeah.
So yeah, just a quick announcement, just spill the beans. Crazy Mike Cosplay and I have been working here in London with London Brewing Co-op, which is in the east end of London, a residential area in the east. We're going to be meeting with them this month, very soon. Actually, I've got to schedule a meeting here, but they've agreed to let us host a May the 4th event
Oh
by
yeah.
the Geeks and Co at London Brewing Co-op itself. They've given us the run of the entire venue. So I am going to be reaching out to anybody that's got a Star Wars cosplay in the area. Now it's on a Thursday, so I'm not expecting anybody to travel in, because I mean, you're going to have your, your work on Friday or school on Friday, whatever you do. But if you have an opportunity, we're going to be starting at mid-afternoon, probably around 2 or 3 o'clock. We're going to have a bunch of little tables and tents and booths set up. There's going to be trivia that evening. We're going to do the live podcast from that venue. We're going to have a shit ton of cosplayers. We'll have activities. All the funds are going to go to, there's going to be donation bins for charity. We're going to involve as many people as we can. So if you're going to be in the London area, May the 4th be with you. That's what we're doing. Myself and Crazy Mike Cosplay are going to host it on behalf of the Geeks and Co. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get the rest of the team down for that event. We'll see what happens. So stay tuned for that.
a May the 4th event hosted by the Geeks and Co. I mean, that's kind of worth taking a Friday off, or maybe even a Thursday and Friday off. Making our way down to London.
Don't you worry, Marianne. We would love to have your frog lady there. Absolutely.
Hell yes.
Anybody that's got a Star Wars cosplay and wants to come out, we are not.
Let's go spend the weekend in London and crash the party.
We are not the 501st. We are not the Rebel Legion. We are not. You're not good enough to sit with us. We don't care if you have a cosplay and it's Star Wars and you want to come out. Hell, shit, I don't care what cosplay you bring. Come on out to the event. If you have a Star Wars cosplay, great. But if you don't, you just want to come out to the event,
come to the event. Yeah.
If you're in London, come try some craft beer, play some cool trivia,
take some pictures of a bunch of Star Wars cosplayers,
take some pictures, swing a lightsaber, do whatever you want to do. But
I have never
been man.
To London as yet, and I'm thinking maybe I might have to make the effort to try and come down for this, because I understand that there's a pretty cool Comic-Con that happens down in London as well.
There's 2.
There sure is.
2. There's Forest City Comic-Con, and then there is London Comic-Con. And the Geeks and Co. had a booth at London Comic-Con last October, and we likely will again this year. I have talked to Jake. He said he's down, so we should be there again. So, yeah, by all means, make yourself
trying
available.
to get into a couple of cons again this year, but so far we only have confirmation from Toronto Comic Con. So
yeah, I got to reach out to our boy Sam Sino there and
sure they'll bring you guys back. You guys, in my humble opinion, not just because I'm on your show, but in my humble opinion, the Geeks and Co. Booth is the highlight of the Comic Con.
Stop. No, please.
Come on now.
JS, let the man talk. Go ahead.
I do mean that. I like, just thinking in terms of somebody who's spent their, a good portion of their life working in film and TV and production and things of that nature. I know what it takes to, produce something that is going to appeal to people. And you guys hit it every time. It's such a draw. If you even just stop for a moment, like I know you guys are kind of always immersed in the middle of it, but if you ever just stop for a minute and step outside of yourself and look at the people at a Geeks & Co. booth at a Comic-Con, people are just loving it.
It's fun to hear that. And it's funny you mentioned that. There's a picture that, I don't know who took the picture. I think it might have been Anthony from Cosplay Alliance. And it's a picture of not us doing our thing, but of the crowd at the booth. And I remember Rob sending me the picture saying, wait a second, like, they're here for us? Like, we did this? Like, isn't that insane? So hearing the good comments is always appreciated. Yeah. You have no idea. And you're going to be there on Friday at Comic-Con.
Check them out. You got to get to that Geeks & Co. booth.
Yes, sir.
We'll have that guy in his epic Borg on Friday for Star Trek Day. So make sure you're coming out for that. And then, so again, just to recap events, March 17th through 19th, Geeks & Co. will have a booth in the North
Yep.
Building for Toronto Comic Con. Richard is going to be featured on Friday. Saturday,
Mhm.
the boys are doing their Predators. I'm doing something else. And then Sunday is DC Day once again, because we had such a blast with it last year. The next official Geeks & Co. event would be May the 4th. Would be the May the 4th event in London.
Yes.
And then after that, shortly after that, we'd be doing Niagara Falls Comic Con. Whether we have a booth or whether we just crash, we're going to be, the Geeks & Co. will be there in force at Niagara Falls Comic Con. So
yeah. I'm kind of, is it weird that I want somebody to say no to us?
Yeah, it's a little bit
so
odd
we
that
can
we've got
crash
nothing
their
back.
event and just show
Yeah.
up with like roll-up banners and just set themselves up somewhere and just
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
crash the event.
Yeah, dude. We've got to figure out a way to have like just a little folding table we can put out, set up
That'd
a
be
couple of
hilarious.
cameras, and just start doing a live podcast right in front of the place. And yeah, dude. Absolutely. I'd be so ready for that. Yeah. We're doing it live.
Yeah,
That's the recap for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good comments actually right now. Victoria, who says you're absolutely right, Richard. Is this Mr. Steve Jones?
That is Mr. Steve Jones.
It became Groot's temporary home at London Comic Con. It sure did. Definitely home base for a lot of us, is Marianne.
Party in Michael's room.
Couldn't walk through the walkway very easily because of that crowd. Yeah, I'm assuming you're probably talking about Comic Con. London Comic Con was insane. We were in the middle of an aisle across from the 501st. So when the crowds showed up, you couldn't get through that aisle. You just couldn't. If you wanted to get through, you had to go around. Otherwise, you were waiting in line to either get to the 501st or to get to us. It was absolutely insane. Steve, my man, welcoming, encouraging, empowering to just a regular cosplayer. Geeks & Co. brings it all. Thank you so much, buddy. I really, really appreciate that. You know, dude, you're getting on the podcast in a couple of weeks. You know, you're already going to be on the podcast. You don't have to butter us up, bud. It's okay.
No, he makes it tired of these elitist groups and these elitist cosplayers that only want to associate with whoever they believe is the upper echelon, or we're only going to take pictures with this, or you can only hang out with that, or whatever. We are so anti that I can't even put it into words. I'm getting angry thinking about those groups. I've talked about all of them before. There's more to add to it. Those elitist snobs that are like, well, you can't sit with us, you're not good enough. Yeah, that is not our vibe. I remember still to this day Andrew Saxon, the Ill-Gotten Hugs cosplay, talking about our booth at Fan Expo. He said, you gave wayward cosplayers a place to go. And that's everybody. I don't care if you're Arias Legacies and you've got something that looks like it walked right out of a movie set, or you showed up with some painted cardboard. It doesn't matter. If you're a cosplayer, you're welcome at the booth. 100%.
Yeah. It's all about putting out the effort.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You came. You came and you dressed up. You're trying to increase the environment. You're trying to bring a good fan experience. We applaud that on every, as long as you're not hurting anybody, we applaud that on every level. So
we're all there to have fun, right?
That's what I love. That we're all there to have fun, and we're all there for the same reason. We're all part of the same, big, happy, inclusive club.
Yep. We should be. Well, we are, absolutely, and that's the way we're going to stay. That's how we roll.
Yeah.
That is how we roll.
Yeah. I mean,
that is the why. Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Sorry. Go ahead, Jess.
No, that's quite all right. You mentioned earlier, Richard, you've worked in the industry, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. I know we've been on now for an hour, but you still have some more time? Are you okay with staying on for a little bit?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Because I'm going to keep talking here if you stay on. You've done a bunch. Actually, maybe I'll bring them back up. You've done a bunch of fantastic cosplays other than the Borg, right?
Well, thanks.
Your mall is absolutely wicked. Hellboy is something I want to do actually as well. I love this. This is amazing.
This is not even my latest Hellboy. My latest Hellboy, I've done many improvements on since this version.
Well, there you go. And then this guy.
What in the fuck?
Yeah.
This
That's
guy
you
in Ontario yet. He only made one appearance way back in 2016 at Edmonton Comic Con.
Holy hell!
Expo, and it was kind of like my iteration of Goliath, reimagined.
Gargoyles,
darker version.
Dude.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, full body foam suit, muscle suit, and articulating wings.
Fuck off.
And a set of stilts to give you that reverse dog leg kind of look. So
Good
I'm about
Lord.
a little over 7 feet tall in that picture there.
That is wild. I have never seen that before, and I would have no idea that that's you.
I still have most of this suit.
Holy shit.
You should pull it
I
out
do
again
plan
sometimes because it's
on
amazing.
This may actually make an appearance at next year's Toronto Comic Con, because I have to wear it in early March or mid March when the weather's not so hot.
No, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I don't know about next year, but this year, you know, we're going to be in Predators. We're thinking of perhaps doing like a Villains and Monsters style meetup on the Saturday.
One of these days,
Sounds like a good excuse to pull it out to me.
There's a trio.
You know?
I'd love to do a Predator. That would be so cool.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Never enough Predators.
One day.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Which reminds me, I got to get to work on this thing. We did a photo shoot this winter. Sorry, at Christmas. Santa Predators. I don't know if you guys have seen it on Instagram,
Yes.
but on the after the last picture I took, no, actually I bent down, I dropped. We had these skulls that were meant to look like ornaments, and I dropped my skull, and as I bent over to grab my skull, my mask fell, and it smashed on the cobblestone pathway, and it cracked in two. So it looks like it's one piece, but it's not one piece. So I got to fix that before Comic-Con, because I got to refix it, refinish it, repaint it. I got to do all of that. But fun times. Well, listen, the more Predators, the better, as far as I am concerned. Get to the chopper. Hell yes.
I'm here. Kill me. Come on. Do it now.
So, Richard, so you've worked in the industry. So you've worked on movies. You've appeared on TV shows.
Yes, I have.
Tell us a little bit about. Tell us some of those stories, because I don't think very many people know this about you.
Yeah, I worked for about 15 years or so in the movie industry in Toronto. I did a bunch of acting and some stunt work. I also worked behind the scenes as a lighting technician. Some other smaller stuff outside of the big scale union things. I did some writing and directing and producing as well for my own little projects. But yeah, I spent many years earning my living working in the industry in Toronto, going on to movie sets, 15, 18 hours a day, every day. Learned a lot about making movies, and in terms of taking those skills from that life and that world, it's great to use a lot of that to apply in the cosplay world. Just in terms of how I used to watch, those guys and how they would make a movie set out of, just raw materials that didn't look like anything at all, like marble columns made out of cardboard and paint. And, it made me realize that you could build anything to be anything out of anything. And then I really liked taking my old days of being the actor in the film business and putting that into my cosplays. Like when I get dressed up as Darth Maul, I spend
You're Darth Maul.
Richard. I spend most of my day living as Darth Maul. So I kind of get into the method thing a little bit when I'm in character, but I will drop out occasionally. But yeah, when the cameras roll for selfies or photos or something like that, then the performance comes out.
I mean, that's why they call it cosplay, right? Like, I love getting into character, and
you can put a cosplay on a mannequin and it would look the same. That look at the costume behind there. That Predator on the mannequin
looks
is
the
dope.
same, but I guarantee you, when I'm in the costume and I'm acting as a Predator,
totally
and I'm
different.
staring people down, and it's not the same. People,
No.
I creep people out, right? This doesn't creep anybody out.
I hate to break it to you, but you creep people out regardless. But I'm just saying.
Well, fair enough, but
that's only because you're French. Richard, are you not?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Do we need to start talking about that mustache again?
Patrick, I can't believe it hasn't come up the whole. It's been over an hour and no one's brought up the. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna come up now.
I'm sure it will. Colonel Sanders, eat your heart out. So are you involved in the industry at all anymore, Richard, or has that time passed? And if it
not as
has,
Yeah, no, I've left the electricians union, the lighting union. I'm no longer a member of ACTRA. I do some performance. I haven't done it since, like, a few years before COVID, but in my little hometown here of Peterborough, we have a theater company here, and I've performed many years on stage here, doing live productions in Peterborough. Little films on the side with friends and stuff as well, and hoping to use more of those skills in recording my own cosplay videos for my own YouTube channel and other things like that.
And then what prompted you to sort of leave the life, as it were, not being any more part, like the ACTRA and the lighting? Because it sounds like you were pretty deep into it. And I saw your list of credentials. You were not fucking around. Like, you were involved pretty heavily.
Oh yeah.
Did it end up being a financial thing? Did it end up being you had to move thing? Like, what got you out of the life?
We went through a lot of periods of time when I was in it. We had West Nile, SARS. I was in the business when 9/11 happened.
Gotcha.
So we went through a lot of years where it was very difficult to earn a financial living in that business, and
sure.
that business alone. So I made a few ventures out of the business when things were pretty bleak back in 2007, 2008. And just never really found my way back into it. I haven't closed the door 100% on working as an actor in Toronto in the future.
Yep.
I'm an older guy now, but
hey man, there's roles for
there's some older guy stuff out there.
Absolutely. We celebrate the older guys on here. Obviously, look at look at all the gray in that man's beard. None in mine, of course. It's all.
Well, that's not, that's how I came up with. I decided to choose midlife cosplay as my YouTube channel handle. And
brother, I was 40 when I was over 40 when I got into this. I get it, man. Total midlife crisis, 100%. Yeah.
But it's fun,
cool, man.
Since I'm no longer actively daily, working on movie sets and movie productions. The cosplay thing is a really great creative outlet.
Yeah, for sure.
You get the opportunity to design, build, create, and then at the very end of it, present it, live it, breathe it, and become that character and play for a bit.
Any crazy on-set stories that you can share from your time working in the industry? Because, like I said, I saw your list of credentials. Like, it's not nothing, kids. Like, he's been involved in quite a few. You've been a stuntman. You were in the lighting tech 15 years.
Yeah.
Star Trek, Earth Final Conflict, Shoot 'em Up. You were on Sue Thomas FBI. You trained in fight choreography, martial arts, movement class. Like, dude, like, you were deep.
Oh yeah.
You must have one or two goofy ass stories or crazy stories from that time. No.
A lot of it is a lot more boring than the concept of hurry up and wait on a film set is very, very true. You sit around a lot. But there were a couple of interesting things. We were shooting an episode of Kojak back when it was going to be Ving Rhames, who was going to be Kojak. Russell Crowe was shooting Cinderella Man at the same time. We were shooting on a holiday, and I was there with my crew guys, and we were portraying the SWAT team for Kojak. And so I'm hanging out with a couple of the other principal actors from Kojak, lesser known guys, but guys you would see in TV series on a regular basis, for many, many years. And we're hanging out in our full on SWAT gear, like full on, like everything, we had our 9mm Glocks, we had our machine guns, we had everything, gas mask, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
And those outfits are attention grabbing. And so we're sitting there one day, and a bunch of young girls come by, and they stop, and they're like, oh, hey, what are you guys doing? And so we tell them, and they're like, oh, can we get our pictures with you guys? And so the two more famous actors just kind of assume that, oh, okay, this is picture time for us like normal. Well, the girls hand the camera to those guys and go, "Hey, can you guys take our pictures, guys?"
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we sit back, we get the stars of the show to take the pictures with us.
Awesome.
They're kind of giggling the whole time because they're just like,
of course.
Don't even know who we are.
That's hilarious.
And then on top of it, while this is happening, we have to stop in the middle of taking the picture because Russell Crowe walks past us.
Well.
It's only myself and one other wardrobe person there. We kind of took a look at each other and went like, "That was Russell, wasn't it?"
Was that Russell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, and that's his heyday. Like that's the pinnacle of his career. Like you're talking Cinderella Man. Like that's not messing around. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Justice for I hate
like
you,
that.
by the way, JS. Show them what's going on in the chat, JS, if you wouldn't mind just throwing some of those up there anyways. That'd be nice. Yeah, just 1, 2, keep going, 3. You guys, why are you encouraging him? Like, don't encourage him.
I saw this.
There is no justice for Biff. We all agreed he didn't belong on the list. What justice are you guys looking for exactly? I do like the stash for life and Colonel Sanders is jealous hashtags though. I'm down with those for sure.
Yeah. Colonel Sanders is jealous.
That's right. Damn right. Keith's got my back. Keith's my boy. He knows he's good. Justice for Jeff. Thank you. Producer Jen. Thank you. Awful justice for Biff. We do have to make a t-shirt though, 100%. Anyway,
we do for sure have to make a Justice for Biff
for
t-shirt
sure.
now.
Sure.
Yeah. You tell us a little bit about what your YouTube channel is going to be about. I know you said a little bit earlier that you want it to be more about, cosplaying on a budget. Is it going to be more builds? Is it going to be more like show and tells? Like, is it going to be cosplay videos of you going out and doing things, or a combination of all those things?
Kind of a little of each of that. I am going to focus on some build stuff, some how-to stuff. I'll also do eventually work my way into just little short skits, where the finished cosplay is taken out into the real world, and do some recording with that, and create a couple of little tiny skits to throw on just for fun. And then also stuff like just discussions of here's a finished cosplay, here's what went into creating something like this. If you're interested in undertaking a large build like creating the comedian or a Predator or a Borg or a Boba Fett, here are the things to look out for, here's what's involved, and here's the time commitment, and then just kind of focusing a little bit on how can you get this done without having to spend $5,000 to build a Boba Fett. I find that I don't have any one specialty, like I've got 3D printed costumes, I've got fabric costumes, I've got foam costumes, I've got EVA foam costumes, I've got some stuff with silicone facial prosthetics, other stuff with just makeup and airbrush applications, and so it's a little bit of everything that people can kind of tune in and say, I want to build a pretty decent cosplay, and I'm not sure how to kind of go about it with little resources, and maybe this will be a little bit of an insight into that.
Perfect.
One of the things you just said, how you're doing a little bit of everything, kind of what cosplay is all about, isn't it? Like when you're putting a cosplay together, there is no one proper way to do it. And you're building a Boba Fett, there's 15 different ways that you could build your Boba Fett, right? And you can mix all those methods together to suit whatever your budget or your time constraints or whatever the case is, right? Like that's to me is the beauty of it, right? You build what you can with what resources you have, and if you don't have the time to build, well, then you become Jeff over here, Mr. Moneybags, who just throws money at other people to make his costumes for him.
I mean, more money than time. What do you want me to tell you?
Sometimes it's a journey too. Sometimes you start with a dollar store budget build, and then work your way up to I'm very fortunate that my friend Steven, we all know him as Protofet Steven. He brought that spectacular prototype Boba Fett to
oh yeah,
the all white one.
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah,
You guys were
very
together.
cool.
I remember that now.
Right.
Yeah. I
yeah
have a picture with the both of you actually in my Predator.
He's known as Whitesmith. That's another company name he goes by, where he will 3D print stuff for people, and so he 3D printed all of our armor for both of those. He's actually
the armors are fully 3D printed. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. He's actually working on a Predalorian right now.
Oh, very cool.
It's funny you say that. I've seen somebody else well, maybe that was him.
That's him.
I saw like somebody doing like drawn designs. Yeah. Was that him that posted that?
Yeah, he's got like 3 Instagram handles now, but
yeah, that must have been him then that I saw posting that, and I was like, oh, that's a neat idea. I love that idea.
It's going to look pretty cool when it's done, I'm sure. He's a bit like me, a little bit obsessive compulsive about the cosplays, like, we'll stay up until 5 a.m. to make something perfect, and be on the con floor by 11 o'clock that same morning with that costume on.
Cosplay life, buddy. Cosplay life. Or if you're me, you're just waiting by the mailbox, making sure it's going to come in before the con gets here, because I'm starting to get nervous about a couple of pieces right now that got to be here for March. So we'll see what happens. But I do understand what you guys are saying.
Well, one piece specifically.
Yeah, the cowl. The cowl's got to get here. That
has to be here.
Yeah, I did get an email today that it's finished, but it is coming from the UK. So I'm hoping it's. I got about a week out before it should be here. But yeah, again, who knows? And then it has to fit, and then blah blah blah. We'll burn that bridge when we come to it. So
I have to say, Jeff, that if you are creating your own cosplays, creating a Batman cosplay without buying pre-made materials that would be such an unbelievably daunting task. The amount of skill and effort required to produce all of those pieces to pull off a full Batman cosplay.
Which is funny, because right now that is what it is. I bought it. I didn't buy it from like a retailer or even a reseller. I bought it from an individual on Etsy. My whole Batman is EVA foam. Yeah. Even the cowl, like he handmade my entire suit, every single piece. The only thing that didn't come with was the cape, which I had somebody else, good friend of mine, make the cape here for me and do the parachute clips and tuck it in and stuff. But yeah, other than like obviously the undersuit and the boots and stuff. Yeah. The all the other pieces, the gauntlets, the shoulder, the bicep, the whole chest piece, even the cowl, it's all EVA foam, someone handmade. So yeah, someone spent some time, man. I would not, I do not have those skills. I do not have that patience, and I have no desire to learn. So
that's going to be hot to wear.
Yeah, it's a little bit. So, but the cowl itself, I've got 2 different versions of it. Neither one of them fit great. So that was the key piece that I had to replace to kind of get it up to where I want it to be anyway. So
oh yeah, can't wait to see it.
And an EVA cowl is tough.
Yeah.
The problem with the Batman cowl is it has to fit right. It almost has to be designed for your head.
Yeah.
Now when you're buying a latex cowl or a what's the other material? Urethane cowl, there is some flex in them for it to fit your face.
Yeah.
There's no real flex in foam, right? So it has to fit right.
Neither of mine do, so that's hence why we're making this purchase. So,
well, hopefully it comes, bud.
Hey, fingers crossed. Either way, I'm Batmaning on Sunday. It doesn't matter, but fingers crossed.
For sure, and it is what it is, right? I mean, it's not like it's horrible, right?
No, exactly. We'll get there.
I mean, people friggin' loved it, like at Fan Expo.
The Batmen, so a big shout out to our good friend Snowhawk Cosplay Ed, and then Crazy Mike Cosplay Mike with the 3 Batmen there, and then just the outpouring of DC cosplays that came out that day. Holy cow! Justice for Biff. Say hi to your mom for me. Has to be on a shirt
from Mr. Ed himself.
No, it doesn't. Jesus wept, you guys. I'm telling you. And on that note, I hate every one of you, and I'm going to sign off because I don't like you anymore, you just assholes.
Hey, Richard, before we go, how about you let everybody know where they can find you, the name of your YouTube channel again, so they can go. Is your YouTube channel up? Like, have
I'm
you?
not as yet. No, I just opened up the account. I'm just gathering some content. I've shot a few little things. I'm slowly starting my Cad Bane cosplay build. So I'll be kind of documenting that to be part of my channel.
Cool.
I hope in the next, I'm just in the middle of a very busy period personally at the moment. So I'm hoping that between now and Fan Expo, I can actually start getting some content on my YouTube channel. But
Perfect. Well, let us know when it's up, and we'll definitely make sure we let everybody know about it.
it's going to be called Midlife Cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so once it's up and running, I'll be sure to let you guys know. And yeah,
we will blast it out for sure.
Instagram Baccari Cosplay.
Yeah, Baccari Cosplay is my Instagram handle, and the easiest way to remember that is it's the rum with an extra C and no D, and then cosplay.
Just put it in alcohol terms. We'll remember then for sure.
Yeah, easy way to remember. Booze terms.
Everybody's gonna go look for Bacardi Cosplay now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Guys, on my end, before we sign off, two things. So one is like we've already talked about, so Toronto Comic Con, CK Expo on the 29th, and now May the 4th here in London at London Brewing Co-op. I want to introduce a little tiny segment now that I'm going to do at the end of every podcast now moving forward. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want your response down in the comments below. So this is going to be the question of the week, the geek question of the week. We went over earlier the 10 projects coming up for the new slate of DC films from James Gunn. Which DC property or DC IP would you like to see adapted in maybe chapter 2 of whatever's coming for DC? What is not on that list of 10 things that you want to make sure that you see moving forward with the DC universe? Put your comment or your answer down below, not in the chat, but in the actual comments for this video once it's posted here on YouTube. Get the conversation going, and then we'll review the answers next week. I took this on. I didn't tell JS I was doing this. I will review the answers next week, and we'll do a little tidbit at the beginning and at the end again, talking about what you guys think.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Good job.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
Look at this guy taking the lead here.
Well, try to get some conversation going, right?
Oh, hey,
Yeah, exactly.
I think we covered it all. Jeff has talked about all the events coming up. So I think that will be it for tonight.
All right.
Make sure you stay geeky, everybody.
Thank you, Richard, for joining us this week.
Oh,
amazing to have you on.
I'm thrilled. I'm honored. I'm glad that I could break the podcast cherry with you guys.
I'm telling you what, the day I met you, I'm like, this guy's a kindred spirit. Like, I knew we were going to get along. I'm so glad that you're in the community and bringing such crazy, amazing friggin' cosplay setups. And you're just so affable and just so approachable and so easy to hang out with and talk to. So,
and you're like less than an hour away. So, you're
Peterborough. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on this week. We really, really appreciate it, buddy.
My pleasure. I'd be happy to join you guys anytime in the future.
We will definitely have you on again. No question there.
Yeah. And you know what? I just also want to say, I'm really appreciative, Jeff, that you did come up and approach me that day. I think it was you and Mike that came up. And you guys started chatting with me when I was dressed as the Borg.
Of course.
And, I'm very thankful that you came up and did that, because I feel like it's leading to a nice friendship, and that of course led to you introduced me to JS and that whole family. And
oh, you're in now, dude. There's no escaping now. You're in, brother. You are in.
You're screwed now.
Happy to be in. Happy to be part of the
absolutely. We're glad you're along for the ride, brother. Absolutely. Would not have it any other way.
You guys seem like a great group of guys, and happy to be meeting up with you guys at all these future events.
Well, Rob's not here, and whatever. But everybody else, super
Rob's at the
nice
gym getting buffed right now.
That's right. Yeah. He is the bad guy though. So it's,
he is.
Yeah.
Geek for there it is. There's the hashtag. That's what we're talking about. Never mind your goddamn justice for Biff. That's the hashtag. Geek for life, guys. 100%. All right. JS, take us out of here, will you?
All right, let's just get out of here. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks again, Richard. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Geek Boutique Podcast. Like always, if you prefer to listen to us, you can find us on all major podcast platforms. Now, make sure you don't forget to click that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, to make sure you never miss an episode.